Alright, here's one you need to hear. Trust me.
Update. Am I the asshole for telling my husband his mom can't live with us for months-long stretches? Thank you for the feedback in the original post. Yesterday, when he came back from work, I tried to start the conversation again. He had been giving me the cold shoulder since all this started. I told him I'm his wife of 2 years and the mother of his child. This isn't how we're going to communicate. We started talking after that. I held my ground that his mom staying with us for so long wasn't tenable. If she wanted to visit Canada for longer than a couple of months, she would have to live in her own apartment, learn how to drive, or use public transport. She's used to being driven by a hired driver in Pakistan, and a whole bunch of other changes that she'd need to get used to. That I don't see myself changing my mind on this, so he needs to be honest with her and himself and not go down the we'll keep our options open route. He said that he knows her living with us for an extended stay would require some changes on our part, but he was asking me to do this as a favor to him, that I claim to love him, and yet can't do him this favor for his mom. I actually started sobbing when he said this. It was so hurtful that he was using this as a litmus test for our love. I said her being around for years would ruin our parenthood with our first child, that I want us to raise our child the way we see fit, not his mom. Also, all the intimate moments we have, our sex life, everything would suffer. My parents are Pakistani too, I know this will happen. He again asked me to just not shut the door completely, that he'll tell his mom the stay can only be for a month or so, and I can let him know if I think the change wasn't too much. And we landed on a compromise that for now, they'll do the regular visa application that only allows a max stay of 6 months. If I changed my mind, he'll do the super visa. He then had a long call with his mom, which his older sister also joined. It actually lasted an hour and a half. He was in the backyard for the call and came back in to grab a chair. It was that long. Also, from what I could see, he was mostly listening for that convo. When he came back in, he told me to just not answer any calls or messages from his mom or sister. Meanwhile, I've received like 4 missed calls and 20 messages from them, mostly Islamic quotes about the rights of parents. I've told them that I can't talk right now since I'm busy with my son right now. I asked him how it went, he said as well as he expected. But he's not giving me the cold shoulder anymore. I do feel guilty because, like I said, I was actually looking forward to host her for a month, and I think this whole thing may have caused irreparable damage not just to my relationship with my mother-in-law and sister-in-law, but my husband's relationship with his mom and sister. I've told my mother-in-law I'll call her back in a couple of hours, once my husband's back. I'm dreading that conversation, but I know what my boundaries are. Thank you for the feedback, it helped. Edit. Also, one thing that I had to clarify a few times last post. A lot of people were like, this is what happens when you marry outside your culture. My husband and I are both of Pakistani descent. Just that I was born here, while he immigrated here as a student. But he's been here for like a decade now too. I spoke to my mother-in-law. Since her missed calls and text messages were asking me to call her, I figured I should be the one to call, not my husband. But I put my phone on speaker, so that my husband, who was lying on the couch, could also hear it. She said that my husband had told her he thought it'd be best if she restricts her trip to 1 month, since it was her first time in Canada, and because we were really busy with my son. She said that ever since my husband had gone to Canada as an 18-year-old, he'd always wanted her to visit for a long duration, and now all of a sudden he was asking her to restrict it when she wanted to help with her grandson, and said she knew I must be the reason why. I said it was a joint decision because of the circumstances, but she wouldn't hear of it. She said if her visiting for more than a month was so outrageous to us, then that's fine, she'll limit her stay, but I should know that in Pakistan in-laws live in the same house with a married couple, like my sister-in-law does, and that she had thought I was in touch with my Islamic and Pakistani roots when I was getting married because that's what my husband had told her, but she was disappointed at how whitewashed I was. At this point, my husband asked me to give him the phone, but not before I told her that I was totally comfortable with how in tune with my heritage I was, and that apparently so was her son, told her my husband had just come and handed him the phone. My husband went in the yard to talk, but I was so angry I decided to eavesdrop. He was talking to both my mother-in-law and father-in-law. He told them that it's not like he fled to Canada in the middle of the night as a student, they both had happily seen him off at the airport. And that when he had introduced me, he hadn't kept the fact that I was born and raised in Canada a secret either. That they can't expect to treat us like a couple in Pakistan. Then he listened a whole lot for like half an hour, I gave him a chair again, and kept telling them that it's different now. They ended the call, with him saying that we were both really looking forward to her visit, that we'll make sure it's a great 30 or so days, with us and her grandson. He apologized to me on behalf of his mom, and asked me to please let her lecture go and still be on board with the 1-month plan. I'm looking forward to it much less than I was, but I said fine.
Not the asshole times 1,000. If mother-in-law moves in, your marriage will be over, the strain and resentment will be insurmountable. Better that mother-in-law and sister-in-law are unhappy than your family's life implodes.
The resentment is permanent too.
We'll keep our options open route. Yeah,
That's just him hoping that he can railroad you when mom comes and you don't have the time to say no. This is a passive-aggressive tactic to get his way. And then the "if you love me, you'll do this for me" is extremely manipulative. I'm sorry, Opie, but this isn't great. He threw you under the bus with his family. That's why they're calling you. Opie says you can't live with us, Mom. I tried, but she won't have it. And I think you'll probably have this conversation again in the coming days.
The fact he was likely berated for an hour and a half on the phone is the sign. He listened as his mom and sister read him the riot act. That phone call didn't need to be so long. It's quite simple. This arrangement won't work for my family. You'll have to find other accommodation. The husband has no spine, and that won't change without serious attention to the dysfunction in his family unit.
She's 100% moving in with you. She's just going to show up one day. Keep bags packed for you and your child, as well as have all relevant paperwork, birth certificate, passport, etc. handy. Sadly, he'll cave to his mom, and you know it.
Yeah, I am afraid mother-in-law will visit for a month, then it will turn to 2, then 3, and probably they will file for the extended visa behind OP's back. OP, please have an emergency exit plan. Prepare your mother that you might need to move in with her for a while if it comes to that.
The family is quoting religious scripture at her, saying it's her mother-in-law's God-given right to move into her house and rule over her household. Good grief, OP needs to really think if this is how she wants to live her life. 'Cause girl, mother-in-law is coming whether you want it or not, and you'll have no control over your own household, your marriage, your parenting, or your life. Mother-in-law isn't leaving once she gets there.
Hit like and follow if you want more Reddit madness.